What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. In this video, we are jumping into Red Goblin issue number 1, with Normie Osborn, the son of Harry Osborn, the grandson of the Green Goblin Norman Osborn. We have seen some great character development out of this. In the wake of Madeline Pryor and Ben Reilly's attempt to cast out all of New York under a dark web, we saw that Dylan Brock was very determined to find his father. In need of new allies, he gave Normie a tiny piece of alien symbiote. This creates a new and terrifying vision of the Red Goblin. Coming from writer Alex Pagnol, from artist Jane Bazaldua, the color artist is David Curl. Make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel, make sure that you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up with a small little recap. We have young Normie who is talking about family, how it can be like quicksand, especially in his family. His grandfather used to be the Green Goblin, with a higher body count than cigarettes. His parents had done the best they could to shield them from all of this chaos, but legacy is an echo that grows louder. For example, when Norman had bonded with the Carnage symbiote, he brought little Normie along with him, made him his sidekick, made him the Goblin Child. Eventually, Norman got better, but then Normie's dad had died. That is when Dylan came to him, the new Venom, a little while back, giving him a symbiote of his very own, one that he calls Rascal. And so as he tries to crawl out from underneath the Osborn name, he is out here doing what all superheroes do. In this alleyway this evening, he runs into the Goblin Nation. These guys aren't supposed to exist anymore. They are supposed to be gone. When Green Goblin was running around, this was his street gang. But those days are long gone. Seeing the Goblin Nation here, it makes Normie very curious on why they are still around. Regardless, he goes in, he starts this fight, because the Goblin Nation, these goblin thugs, they are trying to rob someone in the alleyway. We quickly see that young Normie, he is just out of his league. You see, him and his symbiote, they aren't bonded, which means the symbiote doesn't necessarily listen to Normie that often. When things get out of hand, he has a tendency to go goblin mode. That is exactly what we see happen. We see the Red Goblin truly show his face. And these Goblin Nation thugs, they are severely out of their league. With Normie going on to explain that Rascal is a brand new symbiote, or at least kind of. He is basically a puppy dog. He doesn't know much about anything. When it comes to the King in Black, when it comes to the Knowles, Codexes, he doesn't really know any of this stuff. He is a clean sheet. He is an innocent. But when this puppy throws a temper tantrum, you better stay way clear out of the way, as these goblin thugs try to make a getaway, recognizing that they are severely out of their league. As Rascal goes to eat one of them, this is where he sees a candy bar. The only thing a symbiote loves more than candy is brains. And so while Rascal is focusing on that, one of the goblin thugs, they grab a pumpkin grenade out of their bag, shoving it into the chest of Rascal. We see the flame go out. This sends Rascal running, and it gives these goblin thugs the opportunity to run away. That is what takes us into the dreamscape. As we jump into Normie's brain, we are seeing the day that his father had died. The day that his mother and grandfather told him his father wouldn't be coming home. As we see this moment relived, we see young Normie come into the room, because this is Rascal. Rascal is the one reliving this memory, with Normie coming in saying that you shouldn't be in here. He told Rascal that these memories were private, that they were his, saying to stay out of my head while we are asleep. This is when Normie goes to ask Rascal, where the heck are we sleeping? Taking us inside of a bodega, we see that he has just devoured the candy bars inside of this place, passed out in his own crime scene. A couple of police officers come and pick him up, and he is quickly released because he has friends in high places. That friend, of course, being his grandfather. With Normie's mother currently being out of town, Norman is the one to come and pick him up, relaying the message from his mother that he is grounded for eternity. As the two of them conversate, we see that Normie is struggling. When his brother Stanley gets in trouble, he really seems to be getting off easy. Sometimes he even gets waffles. But when it is him, when it is Normie, it's a different story. Really, this is a story of a young boy who is struggling with the loss of his father, with no one to turn to. The symbiote seems to be the only one with him. But even Norman tries. He tries with all of his effort to be a good grandfather. The two of them going on to talk about the Osborn name, how Normie sees it as more of a curse than anything else. But Norman tells him that if you see it as a curse, change the meaning of Osborn. You have the power, you have the capability to do this. That is what takes us down into the sewers. The Goblin Nation, we see that they are far from gone. They are far from non-existent. They have been living in the sewers, staying away hidden in the shadows. And their leader has just learned that there is a Red Goblin out there, believing that this has to be the work of Norman. Who else would be capable of creating a Red Goblin? Now, their leader, he sees this as Norman trying to extinguish all of his past transgressions, the Goblin Nation being one of them. He believes that Norman is now sending this Red Goblin as his assassin to take care of all of them and erase all of this bad memory that was once the Goblin Nation. And so the proclamation of war goes out. The Goblin Nation is going for Norman, that this was an act of war. They believe that Norman sees their entire existence as a scar on himself, that it is a threat to everything that he has been building. They are going to remind him exactly who they are. That is what picks us up with Rascal and Normie, the two of them having a conversation. Like Normie had said, Rascal is still very much a puppy, with Normie telling him that he did things wrong, that Rascal's not doing his part. Now Rascal sees it as they got the bad guys, but Normie lets him know that you also stole $80 worth of candy bars. In this scenario, that makes us the bad guy. On top of that, he also went full goblin mode, something they had discussed that he wasn't going to do. And like a pitiful little puppy dog, Rascal is saying that Normie hates Rascal. And Normie tells him this isn't the case. Normie just has a lot going on, from math tests to puberty coming up. Now he is also a freaking superhero with his own symbiote. Add in the fact that his father had died not even that long ago. Normie really is dealing with a lot. But Normie tells Rascal that he's gotta go. His grandfather opening up a new rehab clinic. Rascal wants to go with him, but he tells him no. This is where we see Rascal almost go goblin mode again, because Normie threatens to give him back to Dylan, picking him up and telling him no taking him back, that he is gonna go with Normie. That is when there is a knock at the door. Both of them panicking because that is Mom. Cracking open the door, saying everything is good. She's reminding him that he is grounded for eternity. The two of them start having a conversation. She comes into the room because she could have swore Normie was talking with somebody. Going in, not seeing anything, they continue to have a conversation, letting Normie know that she needs his help, that it is just her now, and she can't do this all on her own. Normie, being a little bit rude, says, "What, is it too hard to be a mom? Why don't you just throw money at it like we always do?" That is the Osborn way. The two of them staring at one another, Normie apologizes as she walks away, wiping a tear from her eye. Normie also sniffling. We can see that this family is just broken. They are going through so much, and this is Normie lashing out. He lashes out against his mother, against his grandfather, even Rascal. But that is what takes us to the Harold Osborn Addiction Treatment Center, the new rehab center that is being opened up by Normie Osborn. As he gives his speech, he talks about recovery, he talks about trying to be better, but in the middle of this speech, that is when a pumpkin grenade gets thrown at him. With a giant explosion, we see the Goblin Nation making their way inside. Norman absolutely confused, believing that these guys should not exist anymore. He's also extremely irate because this place was for Harry. Now they are in here wrecking everything. Of course, Norman wastes no time going in on the Goblin Nation as he comes in laying down the hate on these thugs. We see that one of the Goblin Nation have grabbed hold of the boys, using them as leverage to get Norman to stop. Agreeing to go with them, we see one of them hit him in the back of the head and they drag him off. Taking him down into the sewers, this is where he meets the Goblin Nation's ruler. Of course, Norman is completely confused at this situation, believing that the Goblin Nation was dead and gone, not knowing that they had a new leader, not knowing that they were around at all. So when they start going on about a Red Goblin and an assassin and all of this craziness, Norman has no idea what they are talking about. But when the Goblin Nation ruler takes off his cloak, we see this to be Phil Urich, a very old familiar face, once the Goblin Knight, but now he is the Goblin King. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Probably one of the better things to come out of the Dark Web event, that is Normie Osborn. With his new symbiote Rascal, I am 100% on board on seeing where this goes. Myself personally have already fallen in love with Rascal. I love that he is almost a child in a symbiote form, that he doesn't understand the world, he doesn't understand all of these emotions and what it is to be human, especially for a little boy struggling with everything that he has had to endure. The trauma at such an early age. His lashing out is probably going to cause some tension between him and Rascal, but I think by the end of this run, we are going to see the two of them really uniting in a way that only trauma can bond people together. Or in this case, they are going to be trauma bonded as symbiote and human. Like they said early on, these two aren't necessarily bonded together. While they do come together, they are not one. There is so much potential here, not only for Normie to be able to grow and become the adult he is eventually going to be, but also for Rascal. He has no idea of the hive mind, of the King in Black, of any of these other things out there that exist. So as Normie ages up, we are going to see Rascal also age up with him. The character development is going to go hand in hand together, as they both learn who they are, where they come from, and what they want to represent. I think the artwork is absolutely fantastic, the writing is a lot of fun. Usually I'm not so on board within the first issue, but this issue alone, it has definitely got me wanting to figure out where this is all going to go. Obviously, the Goblin Nation is going to be Normie's really first encounter with the criminal underworld. Normie is going to have to save his grandfather. The question is his grandfather going to learn the secret that he now has a symbiote? Let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to get completely caught up on everything that happened in Dark Web that led to Rascal and Normie being together, be sure to check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It is going to get you completely caught up on everything going on with that event. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having 5 different tiers, from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to getting free comics every single month. Not only does this help out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you are unable to do any of that, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.